Hey everybody, it's your boy Captain Hunter coming at you again. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really appreciate it. As always, we're going to get into a couple of reactions and see, how people are behaving badly. And I'm going to give my professional opinion concerning, what the police did and the charges that may be filed and all this, that I'll break down videos and all that. Also, as a reminder, if you're looking for anyone to do expert testimony for you, maybe you got a court case coming up and you want to see or analyze whether the police did anything right, wrong, for both sides, right? If you're a defendant or if you are a member of the police, right? And defendant, I've written reports about all of them. So either side of the coin, right? I'm your man to take a look at your case. So just make sure you should reach out to me. The email should be in the description or the about me. Let's see. My website is under construction. That's why I'm going to put the website up there once it's done and complete. And I changed a bunch of stuff. So, let's see. All right. So the first story we got is a body cam footage of shows deadly Chicago police shooting. Here's what happened. I have not watched any of these. These are going to be fresh reactions. If need be, I will pause it, do some research into reading the story. But we'll see how it goes. I haven't watched any of these.
Well, we have a new look at body cam video from a deadly police shooting.
Our Nate Rogers has details and that graphic video released by the Office of Police Accountability. Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Scott and Don. COPA today releasing those 911 calls, police body camera footage, as well as third-party cell phone video that was all taken from the scene. The family of the man that was shot and killed by Chicago police told another media outlet that that their loved one was violently attacked by two men before police arrived.
By police, this guy was detected several times.
COPA says the incident began when two Chicago police officers were flagged down and witnessed an individual attempting to stab a victim in the street. That individual was later identified by the Cook County Medical Examiner's office as 35-year-old Tracy Watson. Officers eventually exited their squad cars, giving verbal commands to Watson to drop the knife. COPA says the 35-year-old would not comply, proceeded to stab the victim repeatedly. Two officers fired their guns, striking Watson and the victim. Watson died at the hospital. The victim was also transported to the ER, listed in critical condition. The shooting happened May 27th in the 300 block of Cicero Avenue around 11 p.m. Watson's cousin could be heard in video asking why the officer did not tase him. The cousin reportedly saying Watson, a father of four, was defending himself against two men.
So the answer to the question is, why didn't you tase them, right? So they're using deadly force, and the officers are not required to go to a lesser level of force when and if someone is using lethal force. And because Watson, and I'm going to look up this case, because Watson was using deadly force, officers are, depending on policy, required to or suggested to use the same level of force, right? So that's one of the reasons that they did it. It might have been better in this case. I'm not gonna Monday morning quarterback, but it might have been better because they struck the victim too, which is not good. There's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Donlin. Thanks to cameras, we can now all see what happened at a crime scene where Chicago police shot and killed a man. CBS 2's Sabrina Franza live for us in the control room. Sabrina, what are we learning from this new police body camera video?
Joe, there are questions about what kind of force was used, how much force was used. One man, as you said, died in this incident. Another was shot critically by police. We want to warn you, the video you're about to see might be disturbing.
They are in the street going toward westbound on Terrace.
911 calls, body-worn camera, pod camera video detail the events leading up to the death of 35-year-old Tracy Watson. In South Austin, Chicago police respond to a call for men fighting. One caller warns a man who police say was Watson had a knife. On the city's pod camera, you can see police pull up with their lights and sirens on. This man with a backpack seems to wave them down before officers get out of the car and the men start fighting. First, one person attacks another, then another man pulls the person being attacked out of the way. We're told Watson started to use his knife. We're pausing before the moment of impact, before he was shot by police. Body camera footage shows police getting out of their car, witnessing that fight. Officers fire at Watson, striking him and the other man, the person who we're told he was attacking. Watson later died. The other person was taken to the hospital in critical condition.
You could have tased them, bro.
They pull up on a scene in which one person is assaulting another. And it's difficult to tell what weapon is involved, and you can't tell, of course, who started it.
David Harris is a professor of law at the University of Pittsburgh.
There is a right that police have to use force, even deadly force, not just to protect themselves, but to protect others. There will be a question about whether there was any alternative to using deadly force, but the central fact here is that the police were witnessing the use of deadly force on another person with a knife.
Yeah, so this law professor, yeah, he's I mean, there's always going to be reviews and what could have you done differently, and that's the way that the country is going as to what could you done. Was deadly force the absolute necessary thing to do? And I actually think that if they're going to go to that standard, you got to take the weapons away from them. You got to take the weapons away from the cops, and maybe go in the trunk of your car, which is going to take time and delay. You see a guy being stabbed and all that. So I was looking for the full video. This is not really much new. I'm looking for the full video, so I don't think it was released. So we're going to end it off there. Let's go to the next story here. That's the same story. We'll start closing these out. I want to save that one for last. Okay, let's go to former Colts player and wife facing charges of 14-year-old son found Wednesday morning. Right, this guy played for the Colts, and his wife facing charges. Let's check out this story.
This morning, a former Indianapolis Colts player and his wife are in jail accused of several crimes in connection to their son, who was missing for 2 weeks.
His father, Daniel Muir, is facing a domestic battery charge. He and his wife, Kristen, are both charged with obstruction of justice, so they're being held without bond.
Police tell us SWAT raided their property early yesterday morning, where Daniel leads a religious group in Logansport looking for their son, Bryson Muir. Thankfully, we are told that he is safe. Right now, police say the Muirs have been uncooperative since the beginning of this investigation.
13 News spoke to the Muirs' lawyer at the courthouse. He tells us they're not guilty of the charges.
The Muir family, they've been improperly targeted, and they're not guilty of any abuse or illegal activity. They're entitled to their day in court and due process. Thank you.
So this brother left the Colts. I don't know, what his status was. I'm not a Colts fan. Whether he retired or was booted off. Sounds like he started off a cult. A cult. He went from being a cult to a cult. And his kid ran away. And yeah, it's kind of wild, right? It's kind of wild. Here's another story. Let's see if they got more information. Right? These news stories, man, they rush through everything. Let's see if they've got any more.
Good afternoon, everyone. We begin 13 News at noon with breaking news. A missing 14-year-old boy and the son of former Colts player Daniel Muir has been found safe this morning by Indiana State Police in Logansport. Bryson's parents, Kristen and Daniel Muir, now both arrested. Kristen faces a preliminary charge of obstruction of justice. Daniel faces preliminary charges of obstruction of justice and domestic battery. Right now, our Rich Nye is in Logansport outside of Cass County Jail following the latest developments. And Rich, what have you learned so far?
Karen, Daniel and Kristen Muir are currently in the Cass County Jail awaiting a hearing. That happens at 1 o'clock here in the Cass County Government Building behind me. And at that hearing, they'll find out if perhaps they will get a bond so that they could post bond and be released today before the July 4th holiday. Now, early this morning, the Indiana State Police SWAT team, they executed a search warrant on this property about 6 a.m. This is in Logansport. This is where the Muir family lives. The property is owned by Servant Leaders Foundation. The religious group that lives and meets here is called Straightway Indiana Goshen. Daniel Muir is the pastor and the leader of that group. Bryson's grandmother reported alleged abuse of the 14-year-old boy back on June 16th while he was visiting her home in the Cleveland, Ohio area. She provided a photo to police of Bryson with a black eye and a swollen face. And she said Bryson told her that his dad caused the injuries as a punishment he deserved. She believed the abuse happened on the Logansport property, and police have been trying to locate the boy for 18 days. It appears Bryson was likely here on this property the whole time, but the parents were not cooperating with the investigation and allegedly backed out of a meeting with the state police last Friday to bring Bryson to investigators to talk about the investigation.
It's curious as to whether that's really obstruction, right? You don't have to cooperate. You don't have to talk to police. Obstruction means that you're actively doing something. If it's let's just say there's evidence on the ground. Obstruction would be, it depends on how the law is written, of course. But if there's evidence on the ground, you're throwing stuff to contaminate the evidence, right? Well, that's not only the destruction of evidence or whatever, but that's actively doing something. Failing to talk to people, I don't know if that's really going to fit. And of course, you have to go by Indiana state law and how their legislation is written. So that's curious.
That led police to getting that search warrant this morning and going onto the property. And again, Bryson was found. He is safe and well, and police say that the parents were taken into custody without incident.
They may. I'm just still thinking about this obstruction charge, right? So obviously it's going to depend on how it's written, but obstruction may also be, if your child is it's a minor, you might be required. I'm sure that you are required to make sure they are safe, secure. And failure to do that, then that would be the other charges is, neglect, parental neglect, or however it's, worded in their state.
Just nothing but positive vibes. Here we are, trying to find this child, make sure that he's alive and well, and ultimately after 3 weeks of, reaching out, he was found, located, so definitely win in our books.
Daniel Muir was arrested for domestic battery and obstruction of justice. His wife, Kristen, was arrested for obstruction of justice. Daniel played for the Indianapolis Colts for 4 seasons, ending in 2011. And again, Daniel and Kristen Muir have a bond hearing. That's today at 1 o'clock here at the Cass County Government Building. I'll be at that hearing and have the very latest for you on WTHR tonight. And Bryson Muir is currently in the custody of the Indiana Department of Child Services here in Cass County, Karen.
All right, thank you.
You certainly can't be blackening up your kids' eyes and all that. That's obviously taking it too far with your disciplinary practices. And I'm sure that in front of his parishioners there, he had to maintain some type of dominant persona, right? Okay, let's get into a salacious story here, right? Here's a guy who's having a prison guard there's been an epidemic of, and I had this story somewhere else. There's been an epidemic of female teachers sleeping with their students, and now here's a female prison guard who's assaulting, right? And look at if this was a male prison guard, I guarantee it would be a prison officer filmed having sex. I guarantee it would be worded differently. I guarantee that would be worded differently, right? He's molesting her, taking advantage of her, raping her, right? He'd be doing all that type of stuff. But because it's a female, right, and the simple anatomy of it, So let's get into the story.
Moment, a prison officer in the UK has been arrested after this video. And we're only going to give you 10 seconds because after that, they smashing asses in here. Now, the video and others were shared of her having sex with an inmate. According to the Metropolitan Police, they didn't have to go far to find her because she was already in custody after being arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. We have with us here tonight to talk about this. See how we had to stop it? Devil is busy. We have with us
Such a devil is busy. Yeah, man, that's crazy, man. I didn't know it was the UK. I heard about the story. I didn't know it was the UK. So apparently, the disease of sleeping with your inmates and students is not relegated to the US.
Constable Herschel Smith and formerly incarcerated individual Augusta Williams Jr. So Augusta, and I chatted with you just a second before we started this interview. Had you ever, first of all, your thoughts on this? Because she knows the camera is rolling on her while she's having sex with an inmate. And she's like,
well, just like it's in...
That ain't quite the same sound.
It's an unspoken duty among inmates to protect one another, information, acts. And it's the same thing with officers, because officers, like inmates, become institutionalized. So officers protect one another, which is rightfully so, but it takes away the integrity of the institution because I don't want to tell on my fellow officer, right?
Right.
Same way inmates, we don't tell on one another. So with that pattern, officers do a lot of things, break policy, sometimes criminal acts, and they're so comfortable like she was because I know my kind got me. Everybody with the badge got me. So that creates that system and that pattern where they do what they want to do and it's comfortable.
Now, when you were behind bars, did you ever see anything like this where officers would have sex with inmates?
I've saw it several times. So in broom closets, laundry departments, kitchens, anywhere where there's blind spots from the cameras, lookouts. I've seen it several times over 8 years. So it happens quite often in the system.
And Constable Smith, you wouldn't be shocked by any of this?
No, I wouldn't be. First of all, I work for the prison.
Constable, have you ever engaged?
For several years, so I didn't see anything in my own eyesight. I heard things that happened, but a lot of times it happened in closet, closed environment where very few people go, but there's contracts all the time with inmates and correction officers, and it depends on who the supervisors are, So a lot of times it's a lot of buddy stuff that goes on in the prison system, and when you buddy with people, I myself, I was one of the most hated guys that worked for the prison system.
You didn't want no friends,
right? I had friends. I had friends. I had friends, but I didn't want friends that was going to get me in trouble, and so I stayed away from those kind of correction officers. I already knew who was in contract, and so being in contract with those kind of individuals, all they're going to reflect back on me, so I stayed away from it. But when I was reporting things to the warden, he didn't want to hear certain things,
right.
But that the warden run his prison, and just certain things you try to say to unfold things, but most of the time they was close with the warden, the major, the captain, and they got away with it.
Now, a lot of times stuff like this is titillating, we'll laugh at it, but it's a breakdown of the system, and it can cause bigger problems, right? And that's the both of you.
Most definitely, And when I was working for prison, I was more of an activist than anything else working in the prison because I saw so much stuff, and I reported things. I wrote grievance and things like that, and the more officers that stand up for what is right, they are the ones that have more trouble than anybody else.
But it's because it's even above the ward, so a lot of cities, a lot of states and countries are understaffed, that.
Yeah.
So we're 40-50% understaffed with officers, then I can't afford to scrutinize you, I can't afford to hold you accountable, because if 20% of y'all doing wrong, I'm losing 100 officers, right? So sometimes they have to let it overlook it because we had nobody to run the prison. So
is that unfortunate, Constable Smith?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the same thing that happened in the county jails. You got building tenders. The building tenders back in the day, that was one of the biggest lawsuits that happened in the state of Texas with prison. And when you have building tender was the big black guys, the toughest white guys, the biggest ones, the toughest one. They would run the tank, and so they would control things for the correction officer, and the correction officer just let him do his thing. And that's why things happen, the contracts and things and all the illegal stuff that take place. It's an organized gang within the prison.
And how much damage, from your perspective, do these individuals in the last 30 seconds we have here, they do when they are having sex with inmates and they're under that inmate's control, essentially?
Well, the sex in itself, I don't think does a lot of damage, but the system as a whole.
But I mean, to get that sex, you're willing to.
Yeah. So when you have those kind of connections with officers and inmates, you create a dangerous, a hostile environment, because when we're getting resources, contraband in, or things are being overlooked, that means people are in danger. We have more contraband, it's dangerous. So.
All right, we want to thank you both for joining us. I want to try to get the screenshot here. My man said that was smashing. So yeah, this is what goes on. I mean, it's unfortunate, but they broke it down, right? Because they're so understaffed that they got to let the prisoners run the prison, and then you got to give them certain benefits in order to keep the whole thing running effectively and efficiently. And they got to give them certain perks, whether it's the drugs or whether it's allowing them to. And I'm sure that the ladies, the prison, female prison officials who are working there, are drawn to the power that these guys have, and it just, one thing leads to another. So, he said they were smashing there. I want to read this story. There's another story here. There's another story here about somebody smashing, but man executed over parking space in Atlanta Mall. Shooter sentenced to life. Let's check this story out.
A murder at Lenox Square is now solved. Today, a judge sentenced the man responsible to life without parole. It's more time than the prosecution requested. The murder happened in 2020, and it was all over a parking spot. New at 6, Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie.
You got to be able to control yourself. You got to control your anger. You got to take control of yourself, right? You cannot get caught up in emotions. You cannot get caught up in trying to protect your pride and arguing over parking spaces, and somebody stepped in your shoes and somebody cut you off in traffic. You got to be able to control yourself.
Is live inside the Fulton County Courthouse, and Mark, the judge, called this an execution.
Yeah, a prosecutor here at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office says he used a big diagram of the Lenox Square parking lot along with mall surveillance video and much more to explain to the jury what happened. He says the incident ended in the parking lot with a murder, but it started there too with what should have been a minor dispute over a parking spot.
Guy's dramatic.
On the count of murder, I'm going to sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. This case is particularly disturbing. It was described by witnesses to the murder as an execution. It was pure evil, with a gun pointed to the back of that victim's head when you pulled the trigger and killed a man, leaving his family and his child with no father.
The law, a Lenox Square parking lot, and a life lost.
On March 8, 2020,
Two lives destroyed. Well, the family of the other, two families destroyed. 2 lives gone. One is obviously to the other side, and the other one is sentenced to life in prison. 2 families devastated over what? A parking space? And they said it was an execution. So I would imagine that he probably went up to them and, I don't know if he made him get on his knees or snuck up behind him and popped him in the head, but that's just, man, that's horrible. 2 lives gone because you can't control your temper because somebody cut you off over a parking space. You think that you have to protect your reputation, your respect. And this has been studied multiple times in the literature that, the need for respect causes so much violence. If you don't have anything else, you don't have a job to worry about, you don't have, a family to take care of, then the only thing that you have is your respect. And when somebody takes that, you'll do any means to get it back.
Ricky Lafargue shot and killed Twan Nguyen in the back of the head in the parking lot of Lenox Mall. All over a dispute over a parking spot.
Chief Senior Assistant Fulton County DA John Whitenauer says he recommended life,
But because of his age at the time of the murder, 19, and his lack of an adult criminal record, with the possibility of parole, plus 5 years for Ricky Lafarge. But Judge Alice Benton exceeded that, ordering life without parole, plus 5.
Someone lost their life over a parking space.
Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis.
Your reaction to the sentence?
I'm pleased with it. I understand why the judge gave the sentence she gave.
We're told Danielle Russell tried the case with Whitenauer.
The judge did the right thing in this case.
Whitenauer says an SUV carrying Lafarge and 4 others zipped into a parking space Wynn and his girlfriend had been waiting on to open up. Wynn and Lafarge's group exchanged words from a distance.
Lafarge is wearing the KC hat.
Lafarge's group went to the mall food court.
I'm going to tell you, man, that does piss us all off, right? You've been standing there waiting to people, or in your car waiting, people do not just, and somebody's just going to zip in. That does aggravate you. Certainly having words, whatever, you know, but, and this guy paid the ultimate penalty for a parking space.
Court. Prosecutors believe Wynn, unarmed and outnumbered, must have seen them leaving and followed them out. During the confrontation, Lafarge, who had a gun in a sling bag, circled behind Wynn and moments later shot him. Lafarge's group fled in an SUV but quickly crashed, and Lafarge ran off but left the gun and a hat with his DNA behind. Defense lawyer Patrick Brackley.
Defense was Mr. Lafarge took out the weapon, attempted to strike the victim, and the gun accidentally went off. A defense which the jury evidently rejected, but that I believe will hold water on appeal.
There's no evidence.
Was that guy a public defender? I mean, was that the best you could come up with, dude?
that Mr. Wynn ever threw any punches at Mr. Lafarge.
It was senseless. There were multiple people around. It was in broad daylight.
I know that we have people that are saying, well, they won't go to popular spots in Atlanta. I'm not willing to give up any of Atlanta to include Lenox Mall. We think that Lenox has taken great steps since this, but I plan to continue to shop there. I want my constituents to continue to shop there, and I'm going to work with law enforcement to make sure we keep that a safe environment.
Now, Whitenauer says on the witness stand, by the way, I understand that the names in purple are witness names. He says on the witness stand, Lafarge claimed that Wynn initiated a fist fight with a member of Lafarge's party, and that man, who pled guilty under the First Offender Act to making false statements to the police, also made that claim on the stand, but none of the state's independent witnesses backed that up. We used video and photos obtained through the prosecution in our report.
Listen, man, if you don't have anything to lose, that they are dangerous, man. They just chilling, just hanging out. Their respect is all they got. They're horrible. I wanted to. This is the story I want to cover, right? This Baltimore City school teacher charged with, here's another school teacher sleeping with people.
A Baltimore City school teacher accused in the rape of a 12-year-old has been denied bond. Just yesterday, police arrested 24-year-old Louis Laurie. Investigators say agents with the U.S. Marshal Service found the 12-year-old inside his apartment in Pikesville after her mother reported her missing back on June 21st.
Today, Laurie made his first court appearance. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell sat in on the bond hearing and joins us live from outside Baltimore County District Court.
So I did a story about this before, about the teachers who were sleeping with them, and there was an expert saying that 80% of the, we're hearing about all the ladies who are doing it now, but he said that 80% of these types of cases are the guys doing it. I don't know if the girls are trying to catch up. I mean, but dude, 12-year-old, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? I remember this case, we had this guy. He was a young guy. It's like 25, I think. He had just started to work as a janitor for a school. And a girl at the school, she was 8th grade. She was an 8th grader. Yeah, 8th grader. She gave him his number. He took it. Dude, man, you're 20. I mean, he's 20. He's 25. I'm sure that they got to talk to you about that. Yeah, these girls are developing early and all this kind of stuff, man. But she's in 8th grade with 14, and this girl's 12. Come on, man. Come on.
Alexa.
Yes, Louis Laurie will remain in custody here inside court. A judge said she believed he is still a threat to public safety. As tonight, we're learning more about the defendant.
Now again, look at the verbiage here. Look at the verbiage here. Look at the verbiage here. Right? They didn't say that about the prison guard. They didn't say that about the prison guard. You know, this is what we're saying. You know, guys are definitely treated differently. We're treated differently, and people want to be equal. Got to call the balls and strikes. You know, use the same language, same verbiage.
No bond for Baltimore City Public Schools teacher Louis Laurie. The 24-year-old made his first court appearance by video here inside Baltimore County District Court 1 day after being taken into custody. Laurie is charged with second-degree rape and a third-degree sex offense. The alleged victim, a 12-year-old girl who in court the state revealed he met on the play. Alleged victim.
Let's read this. The state told Louis Laurie that he was 22 years old. He's 22 years old as his teacher. Man, I'm telling you, this is what happens when you get desperate. This is what happens when you get desperate. When law enforcement gets desperate, when we get desperate with our sorry politicians, we get desperate with our corrections officers. When nobody wants to take these jobs, nobody wants to take law enforcement jobs, correction jobs, teaching jobs, and politicians. When the best people say we don't want to, when the best people who would have the mentality to do it, they don't want to be part of this system. This is what you get. You get people who don't have the morals and ethics to cause them or to restrain them from doing and employing these types of stuff, right? It's crazy. It's not going to get any better until we do something to fix this problem. Also disclosed that such and such also disclosed that she did have consensual sex with Louis Laurie. Such and such stated that he did not use a condom and that the sex occurred in his bed at 6. Well, they put his address in there and everything. He stated that the sex occurred numerous times from June 20th to June 23rd. During medical exam, she disclosed to the nurse that she and Louis had sex numerous times. She stated that she and Louis had sex in numerous positions. Come on, man. Come on, man. Listen, some of these questions sometimes. Okay, did you do this? Okay, you want to know if it was if you use protection because there's a risk of pregnancy and or STIs and all that. But positions. She performed oral sex and he performed on her. Did not believe that Louis Laurie ejaculated inside it, but rather on the bed sheets. There was 11 years, 8 months, 24 years. The difference in age means a lot. Oh, man.
A 12-year-old girl who in court the state revealed he met on the playground of the apartment complex where they both live in Pikesville.
Oh my God, this dude wasn't even, dude didn't even meet her in class. My God, man.
Assistant State's Attorney called Laurie a threat to not only the victim, but other young children as well. According to court documents, on June 21st, the mother of the victim reported her daughter missing. 21st, the mother...
I'm going to read these court documents here.
According to court documents.
June 2020, reported missing by her mother. Let them know she was leaving to meet a friend. And hey, Mom, I'm just going to Pennsylvania. What? You guys can't see it there. Let me move I'm sorry. I'll just move this over a little bit here. A comprehensive search operation was launched employing a variety of methods, including television, social media, posters, door-to-door searches, all in a determined effort, right? So he's got to see all these different Amber Alerts and stuff, right? Well, not Amber Alert, but alerts. His mother notified investigators that Polito used a friend's phone to contact a male subject. An analysis of the friend's phone records revealed a number that had been contacted during that time period. Utilizing that information to determine the phone number was further. They block his number, but won't block his address. Further investigation revealed the number was belonging to Louis Laurie Jr. 99 Wings on it. This address was significant because it's the same apartment complex. U.S. Marshals responded to when court and located inside the location. It should be noted that Louis Laurie was not at the location. God, dog, what an idiot, man! What an idiot, man! These guys these guys they throw their whole lives away for it. They throw their whole lives away for this, man.
On June 21st, the mother of the victim reported her daughter missing. The 12-year-old had left a note that she was leaving to meet a friend in Pennsylvania. Police say investigators traced a number her mother says the daughter contacted using a friend's phone to Louis Laurie. and the U.S. Marshal Service later located the girl inside his apartment. The document goes on to say during an interview, the girl admitted she told Lewis she was 22 years old and they had consensual sex. Days later, Laurie was also located and arrested. In court, the state says at first he told investigators he didn't remember having sex with the girl, but later admitted to it. His attorney telling the judge her client denies the allegations. Laurie remained silent, but appeared to mumble some words after the judge ruled he be held without bond, calling him a threat to public safety. At the time of his arrest, Laurie was listed as a staff member at Mervo High School in the city, where according to his LinkedIn account, he taught U.S. history. Also on his LinkedIn account, Laurie claims to have served as an intern for Maryland Comptroller Brooke Learman back in 2019 when she was a delegate. Fox 45 News reached out to her office for confirmation. Court records also show Laurie was under a civil order to have no contact with a victim in a domestic violence filing in Montgomery County at the time of his hiring as a substitute teacher at city schools back in August 2022. Fox 45 News reached out to the district questioning, given this order, should Mr. Laurie have been eligible for employment by Baltimore City Public Schools?
Wait a minute, did I hear that right? For the victim in this case, he was already under investigation?
Learman back in 2019 when she was a delegate. Fox 45 News reached out to her office for confirmation. Court records also show Laurie was under a civil order to have no contact with a victim in a domestic violence filing in Montgomery County.
With a victim or the victim? The same victim or another victim? I'm not sure.
At the time of his hiring as a substitute teacher at city schools back in August 2022. Fox 45 News reached out to the district questioning, given this order, should Mr. Laurie have been eligible for employment by Baltimore City Public Schools?
Now, I'm still waiting for a response to that question, as well as Laurie's employment status. The district did send us a copy of a letter they say they sent home to parents informing them of this investigation. And Mary Maxine, one other piece of information that we learned.
What? They didn't answer the question. Listen, this sounds like people just dropping the ball. Again, this is what happens when nobody of substance and quality is applying. You got people who people just start slipping through the cracks. They got restraining orders, and they got orders against little kids, but you're going to hire them in schools and all this kind of stuff, right? This is what happens when nobody of quality and substance wants to take these jobs.
Learned here inside court is that Laurie is currently in law school. He's scheduled for a preliminary hearing July 26. Reporting live in Towson.
This brother's in law school. Oh, not anymore. They are booting this brother out. We are not going to give you a law license, brother. You. Oh my God, man.
Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
And we're going to do the last story here. This is a heated confrontation with Andrew Holmes. Ends with Jedediah Brown in custody. What the heck happened in Dalton now?
Some more drama in South suburban Dalton tonight, where the mayor is the focus of an ongoing corruption investigation. Tonight, a public meeting was ended early as a community activist was taken out by police. NBC 5's Regina Waldrop is in Dalton with the story.
Stand and give this mayor your back.
3 minutes are up. Your 3 minutes are up.
Another round of passionate public comments and chaos at Dalton's village board meeting.
You're disrespectful. It's disheartening to see you. You have turned our whole community into, I don't want to use that word, let's say a circus.
Distressed residents and others giving governmental leaders an earful.
You look at all the greats before me, whether it's the Malcolm X's, whether it's the different people.
Tiffany Henyard is mayor of the financially struggling south suburb. She's accused of questionable spending and is at the center of a wide-ranging federal probe as well as a number of lawsuits.
All we ask for is transparency when it comes to our tax dollars and proper protocol
Also happening at Monday's village board meeting, a show of force by firefighters. They were trying to get answers about retirement funds, union dues, and health care benefits. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was hired by trustees as a special investigator to look into Henyard's spending habits. Trustee Jason House read an email from Lightfoot updating her investigation. Lightfoot says the cost for her work so far under $20,000, but she says more work still needs to be done. And she says when the investigation is complete, which is expected to be soon, she will give a full account of everything to the village board. Reporting from Dalton, I'm Regina Waldrop, NBC 5 News.
Thanks.
Frustrations boiling over at a village board meeting in South Suburban Dalton last night. An activist confronted a trustee about allegations of sexual assault. This is just the latest incident for a local government that's been shrouded in scandal lately. NBC 5's Regina Waldrop, live in Dalton tonight with a reaction. Regina?
No, Stefan, that activist taken to the hospital earlier today after experiencing chest pains, but he is being held here at the Dalton police station after he was arrested last night. Outside of the police station right now, you have his supporters. They demanding that either he be charged or let go. And I just learned a short time ago that he is being charged with resisting arrest, which is a misdemeanor.
You gonna answer, and you gonna answer me. Promise you that.
More drama in South Suburban Dalton.
You out of order. You out of order. Hey.
At Monday night's village board meeting, activist Jedediah Brown tries to confront trustee Andrew Holmes about assault allegations. Brown rushes over to Holmes, then is quickly stopped by police. Trustee Jason House steps in.
What does he think? What does you think you're gonna? You think you're just gonna go up there and just start swinging on this dude? What would you think? Why would you think that this? No brains, no brains. Now you're under arrest. Now you completely derail any type of sympathy that you may have garnered for the case, for the actual victim in this. What's the point of that, man?
Holding trustee Holmes back. Then, more scuffles with police, as it appears that Brown is trying to approach Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Police then push Brown to the back, where he's taken into custody, then arrested. Mary Avant is a longtime resident who was at that meeting.
There was no attack, a public official, but it was more of a verbal outburst.
Holmes is being sued by Thania Dukes, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's ex-assistant. Dukes has filed a civil lawsuit accusing Holmes of assaulting her and Henyard of trying to cover it up. Mary Avant says residents asked Brown to come to the village to help them get some answers.
We want to be here for support. He's not from Dalton. He's from the Illinois, Chicago area.
Is that just a stunt? I mean, why would you hire this guy? You want him to come down here and get answers, and you think he's going to do stunts? I don't understand that. I don't understand that, man.
But he has put his life on hold. Come here to help us.
Back out here live, you can see Jedediah Brown's supporters gathered outside the police station here in Dalton. And we are told that he is expected to be released at any time this evening. Again, he is charged with a misdemeanor, resisting arrest. That's the very latest from Dalton this evening. I'm Regina Waldrop, NBC 5 News. Allison?
All right, we're going to leave it off there. They keep looping the same story here. So, listen, you got to remain calm. In all these situations, you got to remain calm. And let me finish this off with saying, this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't have the best people who are applying for these jobs, be it corrections officers, for police officers, for teachers, and even our politicians. When the best and brightest of us refuse to run for office, take these jobs, we are left with the bottom of the barrel who think it's okay to engage in these types of behaviors. And that is really unacceptable. Really unacceptable. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Hit me up. Much love and peace.